Sorry, my dear friends, a phone call came, uh, so I needed to pick it up, and I just cancelled the recording. But let me start again. I will not read that because the recording is already saved. So maybe I will upload in two parts. Okay. So where were we? We saw that how this commander without verification asked, like, commanded for Mandavya, right? Yeah, we were somewhere here. Yeah, yeah, without pausing to verify the facts, he ordered the wicked criminal, as he thought him, to be impaled. The commander returned to the hermitage, impaled Mandavya on a spear, and handed over the stolen things to the king. The virtuous sage, though impaled on the spear, did not die. Since he was in yoga, when he was impaled, he remained alive by the power of yoga. Sages who lived in other parts of the forest came to his hermitage and asked Mandavya how he came to be in that terrible pass. Mandavya replied, "Whom shall I blame? The servants of the king who protect the world have inflicted this punishment." The king was surprised and frightened when he heard that the impaled sage was still alive and that he was surrounded by other sages of the forest. He hastened to the forest with his attendants and at once ordered the sage to be taken down from the spear. Then he prostrated at his feet and prayed humbly to be forgiven for the offense unwittingly committed. Like, Mandavya was not angry with the king. He went straight to Dharma, the divine dispenser of justice, who was seated on his throne, and asked him, "What crime have I committed to deserve this torture?" That's very nice. Like, he was not this yogi, um, the sage was not like was not bothered about like just to get justice from the king, or he didn't even speak about him to the king because king had already made his mind. Like, without any verification he just demanded him to be impaled on the spear. So he went because he was being tortured. So he went straight to Dharma, the divine dispenser of justice, who was seated on his throne, and asked him, "What crime have I committed to deserve this torture?" Lord Dharma, who knew the great power of the sage, replied in all humility, "O sage, you have tortured birds and beasts. Are you not aware that all deeds, good or bad, however small, inevitably produce their results, good or evil?" Mandavya was surprised at this reply of Lord Dharma and asked, "When did I commit this offense?" Lord Dharma replied, "When you were a child." Mandavya then pronounced a curse on Dharma. "This punishment you have decreed is far in excess of the deserts of mistake committed by a child in ignorance. Be born therefore as a mortal in the world." Mandavya was like, he then pronounced a curse on Dharma. Sometimes when we are tortured, we tend to do this kind of thing. So Mandavya at that time was cursed Dharma. "This punishment you have decreed is far in excess of the deserts of a mistake committed by a child in ignorance. Be born therefore as a mortal in the world." Lord Dharma, who was thus cursed by the sage Mandavya, incarnated as Vidura. Okay. So Vidura is this Lord Dharma and was born of the servant maid of Ambalika, the wife of Vichitravirya. The story is intended to show that Vidura was the incarnation of Dharma The great men of the world regarded Vidura as a Mahatma who was unparalleled in his knowledge of Dharma, Shastra, and statesmanship. So Vidura is very important characteristic in Mahabharata, because as you might be familiar that Vidura is reciting this whole tale to Dhritarashtra, the whole tale of Mahabharata war, Kurukshetra war to Dhritarashtra. Okay. Mm, Bhishma appointed him while he was still in his teens as the chief counselor of King Dhritarashtra. See, he was also the chief counselor of King Dhritarashtra. Vyasa has it that no one in the three world could equal Vidura in virtue and knowledge. When Dhritarashtra gave his permission for the game of dice, Vidura fell at his feet and protested solemnly. Solemnly, solemnly, solemnly. Let's see how to pronounce this word, but I know the meaning of this word. Oh, not the Twyra stories.
Solemnly.
Solemnly, solemnly. Okay, N is silent here. Solemnly. Where is this solemnly? Okay, Vidura fell at his feet and protested solemnly. O King and Lord, I cannot approve of this action. Strife will set in among your sons as a result. Pray do not allow this. Dhritarashtra also tried in manly ways to dissuade his wicked sons. He said to him, do not proceed with this game. Vidura does not approve of it. The wise Vidura of lofty intellect, who is ever intent of our welfare. He says the game is bound to result in fierceness of hate which will consume us and our kingdom. But Duryodhana did not heed this advice. Carried away by his doting fondness for his son, Dhritarashtra surrendered his better judgment and sent to Yudhishthira the fateful invitation to the game. Okay, now the next chapter is Kunti Devi. Sura, the grandfather of Sri Krishna, was a worthy scion of Yadava race. His daughter Pritha name is good, right? Let's see. His Okay, Kunti Devi. We are reading about Kunti Devi. Sura, the grandfather of Sri Krishna. Sura, the grandfather of Krishna, Sri Krishna, was a worthy scion of the Yadava race. His daughter Pritha was noted for her beauty and virtues. Since his cousin Kunti Bhoja was childless, Sura gave his daughter Pritha in adoption to him. From that time, she was known by the name Kunti after her adoptive father. Okay, so Pritha. I really like this name, Pritha. Pritha then now known as Kunti. When Kunti was a little girl, the sage Durvasa stayed for a time as a guest in her father's house, and she served the sage for a year with all care, patience, and devotion. He was so pleased with her and he gave her a divine mantra. He said, if you call upon any god repeating this mantra, he will manifest himself to you and bless you with son equal to him in glory. Oh, that is very nice at that time also. If you call upon any god repeating this mantra, he will manifest himself to you and bless you with a son equal to him in glory. He granted her this boon because he foresaw by his yogic power the misfortune that was in store for her future husband. Okay. The impatient curiosity of youth made Kunti test then and there the efficacy of this mantra by repeating it and invoking the sun, whom she saw shining in the heavens. Okay, so Kunti first tested this mantra on Surya Dev. Okay, invoking the sun, whom she saw shining in heaven. She at once the sky grew dark with clouds, and under cover of them the sun god approached the beautiful princess Kunti and stood gazing at her with ardent soul scorching admiration. Soul scorching admiration. Scorching. Deep admiration basically. Kunti, overpowered by a glorious vision of her divine visitor, asked, "O God, who are you?" The sun replied, "Dear maiden, I am the sun." I am the sun. I have been drawn to you by the spell of the sun giving mantra that you have uttered. Okay, so basically, that was this mantra is for bless you with a son equal to him in the glory. Okay. Kunti was aghast and said, "I am an unwedded girl dependent on my father. I am not fit for motherhood and do not desire it. I merely wish to test the power of the boon granted by the sage Durvasa. Go back and forgive this childish folly of mine." But the sun god could not thus return because of the power of the mantra held him. Because the power of the mantra held him. She, for her part, was mortally afraid of being blamed by the world. The sun god, however, reassured her, "No blame shall attach to you. After bearing my son, you will regain virginity." Kunti conceived by the grace of sun, the giver of light and life to all the world. Divine births take place immediately without the 9 months weary course of mortal gestation. She gave birth to Karna. Yes, Karna was not able to get the love from from his mother Kunti. Let's see. I saw that in Mahabharata episodes, like when in 2022 I saw this whole Mahabharata. Okay, she gave birth to Karna, who was born with divine armor and earrings and was bright and beautiful like sun. In time, he became one of the world's greatest hero. After the birth of child, Kunti once again became a virgin as a result of the boon granted by the sun. She wondered what she should do. I need to take medicine, so I will just come back. I'm pausing it. She gave birth to Karna, who was born with divine armor and earrings and was bright and beautiful like the sun. In time, he became one of the world's greatest hero. After the birth of child, Kunti once again became a virgin as a result of the boon granted by the sun. She wondered what she should do with this child. To hide her fault, she placed the child in a sealed box and set it afloat in a river. A childless charioteer happened to see the floating cage and, taking it, was surprised and delighted to see within it a gorgeously beautiful child. He handed it over to his wife, who lavished a mother's love on it. Lavished a mother's love on it. Thus, Karna, the son of sun god, came to be brought up by or brought up as a charioteer's child. When the time came for giving Kunti in marriage, Kunti Bhoj invited all the neighboring princes, prince and held a swayamvar for her to choose her husband. Many eager suitors flocked into Swayamvara as the princess was widely famed for her great beauty and virtue. Kunti placed the garland on the neck of King Pandu Pandava's father, the bright representative of Bharat race, whose personality eclipsed the luster of all the other prince assembled there. The marriage was duly solemnized, and she accompanied her husband to his capital Hastinapur. On the advice of Bhishma and in accordance with the prevailing custom, Pandu took a second wife, Madri, the sister of King Madra. In the old days, the king took 2 or 3 wives for making sure of progeny and not for mere sensual desire. Okay, so the chapter 10 is death of Pandu. One day, King Pandu was out hunting. A sage and his wife were also sporting in forest in the guise of deer. Pandu shot the male with an arrow in ignorance of the fact that it was a sage in disguise. Stricken to death, the rishi thus cursed Pandu: Sinner, you will meet the death the moment you taste the pleasures of bed. That was a curse. Pandu was heartbroken at this curse and retreated to the forest with his wives after entrusting his kingdom to Bhishma and Vidura, and lived there a life of perfect abstinences. Seeing that Pandu was desirous of offspring, which the Rishi curse had denied him, Kunti confided to him the story of mantra she had received from Durvasa. He urged Kunti and Madri to use the mantra, and thus it was the 5 Pandavas were born of the gods to Kunti and Madri. They were born and brought up in the forest among ascetics. Let me see how to pronounce this, because it's also coming every time.
Ascetic.
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 Okay, ascetic. King Pandu lived for many years in the forest with his wives and children. It was springtime, and one day Pandu and Madri forgot their sorrows in the rapture of sympathy with the throbbing life around them. The happy flower, creepers, bird, and other creature of the forest. In spite of Madri's earnest and repeated protest, Pandu's resolution broke down under the exhilarating influence of the season, and at once the curse of sage took effect and Pandu fell dead. Madhuri could not contain her sorrow. Since she felt that she was responsible for the death of king, she burned herself on the pyre of her husband, entreating Kunti to remain and be a mother of her doubly orphaned children. The sages of the forest took the bereaved and grief-stricken Kunti and the Pandavas to Hastinapur and entrusted them to Bhishma. Yudhishthir was but 16 years old at that time when the sages came to Hastinapur and reported the death of Pandu in the forest. The whole kingdom was plunged in the sorrow. Vidura, Bhishma, Vyasa, Dhritarashtra, and others performed the funeral rite. All the people in the kingdom lamented as at a personal loss. Vyasa said to Satyavati, the grandmother, "The past has gone by pleasantly, but the future has many sorrows in store. The world has passed its youth like a happy dream, and it is now entering on disillusionment, sin, sorrow, and suffering. Time is inexorable." Wow. Let's see the meaning of inexorable.
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 Inexorable. Impossible to stop or prevent. Okay. Of course, time is always moving. You need not wait to see the miseries and misfortunes that will befall this race. It will be good for you to leave the city and spend the rest of your days in hermitage in the forest. Satyavati agreed and went in the forest with Ambika and Ambalika. These three aged queen passed through holy asceticism to the higher regions of bliss and spared themselves the sorrow of their children and spared themselves the sorrow of their children. Okay, so now we will read about Bhima. Okay, what is there in Bhima? The 5 sons of Pandu and the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra grew up in the mirth and merriment at Hastinapur. So the sons of Pandu and Dhritarashtra grew up together. Bhim excelled them all in physical prowess. He used to bully Duryodhan and the other Kauravas by dragging them by their hair and beating them. A great swimmer, he would dive into pools with one or more of them clasped helpless in his arms and remain underwater till they were almost drowned. Whenever they climbed up on a tree, he would stand on the ground and kick at the tree and shake them down like a ripe fruits. The body the bodies of son of Dhritarashtra would be ever sore with bruises as a result of Bhima's practical joke. Small wonder that son of Dhritarashtra nursed a deep hatred for Bhima for their very infancy. So Dhritarashtra's sons already started developing hatred for Bhima. Okay. As the prince grew up, Kripacharya taught them archery. These are important names because they will be present in war, and Arjuna will see them all. He will feel bad. Okay, as the prince grew up, Kripacharya taught them archery and the practice of arms and other things that prince should learn. Duryodhana's jealousy towards Bhima warped his mind and made him commit many improper acts. See, hatred, jealousy lead us to many improper acts. Duryodhana was very much worried. His father being blind, the kingdom was ruled by Pandu. After his death, Yudhishthira, the heir apparent, would in course of time become king. Duryodhana thought that as his blind father was quite helpless, he must, to prevent Yudhishthir's accession to the throne, contrive a way of killing Bhima. He made arrangements to carry out his resolve since he thought that powers of Pandavas would decline with the death of Bhima. So he thought that only Bhima is very strong, let me kill him, and then the Pandavas would decline with his death. Duryodhana and his brother planned to throw Bhima into the Gangas, imprison Arjun and Yudhishthira, and then seize the kingdom and rule it. So they already made the plan. So what they wanted to do is to throw they wanted to throw Bhima into the Ganges, imprison Arjuna and Yudhishthira, and then seize the kingdom and rule it. So Duryodhana went with his brothers and the Pandavas for a swim in the Ganga. After the sport, they slept in their tents, being exhausted. Bhima had exerted himself more than the other, and as his food had been poisoned, he felt drowsy and lay down on the bank of the river. Duryodhana bound him with the wild creeper and threw him into the river. The evil Duryodhana had already caused sharp spikes to be planted on the spot. This was done purposely so that Bhima might, in falling, be impaled on the spikes and lose his life. Fortunately, there was no spike in the place where Bhima fell. Poisonous water snake bit his body. Snakes bit his body. The poisonous food he had taken was counteracted by the snake poison, and Bhima came to no harm, and presently the river washed him to a bank. Duryodhana thought that Bhima must have died, so he had been thrown in the river infested with poisonous snake and planted with spikes. So he returned to the city with the rest of party in great joy. When Yudhishthira inquired about the whereabouts of Bhima, Duryodhana informed that he had preceded them to the city. Yudhishthira believed Duryodhana, and as soon as he returned home, asked his mother whether Bhima had returned home. His anxious question brought forth the reply that Bhima had not yet returned, which made Yudhishthira suspect some foul play against his brother, and he went again and with his brother to the forest and searched everywhere. But Bhima could not be found. They went back in the great sorrow. Some time later, Bhima woke and trudged wearily back home. Kunti and Yudhishthira welcomed him and embraced him in a great joy. By the poison that had entered his system, Bhima became stronger than before. Kunti sent for Vidura and told him in the secret, Duryodhana is wicked and cruel. He seeks to kill Bhima since he wants to rule the kingdom. I am worried. Vidura replied, what you say is true, but keep your thoughts to yourself, for if the wicked Duryodhana is accused or blamed, his anger and hatred will only increase. Oh, if someone is doing wrong to us, then we can seek justice because he is the one who follows dharma. But if we go and tell to the one who is doing injustice, they will be or blame them or accuse them, their anger and hatred will only increase. Your sons are blessed with long life. You need have no fear on that account. Okay. Yudhishthira also warned Bhima and said, be silent over the matter. Yudhishthira also warned Bhima, okay, be silent over the matter. Hereafter we have to be careful and help one another and protect ourselves. Duryodhana was surprised to see Bhima come back alive. His jealousy and hatred increased. He heaved a deep sigh and pinned away in sorrow. Okay, so the 12th chapter is about Karna. Let's read this also. It's a long one, I think, but let's do it. The Pandavas and the Kauravas learned the practice of arms first from Kripacharya and later from Dronacharya. So they were two teachers of Pandava, Kaurava, and Kripacharya, and Drona are the teachers of Kauravas and Pandavas. A day was fixed for a test and exhibition of their proficiency in the use of arms in the presence of royal family, and as the public had also been invited to witness the performance of their beloved princess. There was a large and enthusiastic crowd. Arjuna displayed superhuman skills with his weapons, and the vast assemblage was lost in wonder and admiration. So Arjuna had superhuman skills. Duryodhana's brow was dark with envy and hate. At the close of the day, there came suddenly from the entrance of the arena a sound. At the close of the day, there came suddenly from the entrance of the arena a sound loud and compelling like thunder, the sound made by slapping of mighty arms in challenge. All eyes turned in that direction. They saw enter through the crowd, which made way in awed silence. Ah, oh, awed silence. A godlike youth from whom light and power seemed to emanate. Godlike youth. He looked proudly round him, cast a negligent salute to Drona and Kripa, and strode up to Arjuna. The brothers, all unaware by the bitter irony of fate of their common blood, faced one another, for it was Karna. Karna addressed Arjuna in a voice deep as rumbling thunder. Arjuna, I shall show greater skills than you have displayed. Competition between Karan and Arjun. Oh, Karan and Arjun, the movie. Arjun, I shall show you great skills than you have displayed. Okay, with Drona's leave, Karna, the lover of the battle, then and there duplicated all of Arjuna's feats with careless ease. Great was Duryodhana's exultation. He threw his arms round Karna and said, Welcome, O you with mighty arms, whom good fortune has sent to us. I and this kingdom of Kurus are at your command. So, actually, this Duryodhan welcomed him to his kingdom of Kurus. Said Karna, I, Karna, am grateful, O king. Only two things I seek, your love and single combat with Partha. Duryodhan clasped Karna again to his bosom and said, My prosperity is all thine to enjoy. My prosperity is all yours to enjoy. As love flooded Duryodhana's heart, even so did blazing wrath fill Arjuna, who felt affronted, and glaring fiercely at Karna, who stood stately as a mountain peak, receiving the greetings of Kaurava brothers, he said, O Karna, slain by me, thou shalt presently go to the hell appointed for those who intrude uninvited and prate unbidden. Karna laughed in scorn. So Arjuna said something to him. What's it? As love. Okay. He said, O Karna. Yeah, Arjun said, O Karna, slain by me, those shall presently go to the hell appointed for those who intrude uninvited and prate unbidden. Karna laughed in scorn. This arena is open to all. O Arjuna, and not to you alone. Might is the situation of sovereignty, and the law is based on it. But what is the use of mere talk, which is the weapon of the weak? Shoot arrows instead of words. Thus challenged, Arjuna, with Drona's permission, hastily embraced his brother and stood ready for the combat. While Karna, taking leave of the Kuru's brother, confronted him weapon in hand. And as though the divine parents of the heroes sought to encourage their offspring and witness this fateful battle, Indra, the lord of thunder clouds, and Bhaskara of the infinite rays simultaneously appeared in the heaven. When she saw Karna, Kunti knew him as her firstborn and fainted away. Vidura instructed the maidservant to attend upon her, and she revived. She stood stupefied with anguish, not knowing what to do. As they were about to join in battle, Kripa, well versed in the rule of single combat, stepped between them and addressed Karna. This prince, who is ready to fight with thee, is the son of Pritha and Pandu. Yeah, Kunti is also known as Pritha, right? We saw that. And a scion of Kuru race. Reveal, O mighty, armed by your parentage, and the race rendered illustrious by your birth. It is only after knowing your lineage that Partha can fight with you. For high born prince cannot engage in single combat with unknown adventurers. Partha is being referred to Arjun here. So basically, they are trying to know who Karna is because they told that Arjuna is the son of Pritha and Pandu. Pritha is Kunti. When he heard these words, Karna bent down his head like a lotus under the weight of rainwater. Duryodhana stood up and said, if the combat cannot take place merely because Karna is not a prince, why, that is easily remedied. I crowned Karna as the king of Anga. He then obtained the assent of Bhishma and Dhritarashtra, performed all the necessary rite, and invested Karna with the sovereignty of the kingdom of Anga, giving him the crown jewels and the royal insignia. At that moment, as the combat between the youthful heroes seemed about to commence, the old charioteer Adhiratha, who was the foster father of Karna, entered the assembly, staff in hand and quaking with fear. No sooner did he see him, the Karna, the newly crowned king of Anga, bowed his head and did humble obeisances in all filial reverence. The old man called him son, embraced him with his thin and trembling arms, and wept with joy, wetting with tears of love, his head already moistened by the water of coronation. At that sight, Bhima roared with laughter and said, oh, he is after all only the son of charioteer. Take up the driving whip then, as befits thy parentage. Thou art not worthy of death at the hands of Arjuna, nor should thou reign in Anga as a king. At this outrageous speech, Karna's lips trembled with anguish, and he speechlessly looked at the setting sun with a deep sigh. But Duryodhana broke in indignantly. It is unworthy of you, O Vrikodara, to speak thus. Valor is the hallmark of Kshatriya, nor is there much sense in tracing great heroes and mighty rivers to their source. I could give you hundreds of instances of great men of humble birth, and I know awkward questions might be asked of your own origin. Look at this warrior, his godlike form and bearing the armor and earring, and his skills with weapons. Surely there is some mystery about him. For how could a tiger be born of an antelope? Unworthy of being king of Anga, didst thou say, I verily hold him worthy to rule the whole world. In generous wrath, Duryodhana took Karna in his chariot and drove away. The sun set and the crowd dispersed in tumult. There were groups loud in talk under the light of the lamps, some glorifying Arjuna, others Karna, and others again Duryodhana according to their predilection. Indra foresaw that a supreme contest was inevitable between his son Arjuna and Karna, and he put on the garb of Brahmana and came to Karna, who was reputed for his charity, and begged for him his earrings and armor. The sun god had already warned Karna in a dream that Indra would try to deceive him in this manner. Still, Karna could not bring himself to refuse any gift that was asked of him. Hence, he cut off the earrings and armor with which he was born and gave them to Brahmana. Indra, the king of God, was filled with surprise and joy. After accepting the gift, he praised Karna as having done what no one else would and shamed into generosity, bade Karna ask for any boon he wanted. Karna replied, I desire to get your weapon, the Shakti which has the power to kill enemies. Indra granted the boon but with a fateful provision. He said, you can use this weapon against but one enemy, and it will kill him, whosoever he may be. But this killing done, this weapon will no longer be available to you but will return to me. With this word, Indra disappeared. Karna went to Parshuram and became his disciple by representing Parshuram became his disciple by representing to him that he was a Brahmana. He learnt of Parshurama the mantra for using the master weapon known as Brahmastra. One day Parshurama was reclining with the head on Karna's lap when a stinging worm burrowed into Karna's thigh. Blood began to flow and the pain was terrible, but Karna bore it without tremor, lest he should disturb the master's sleep. Parshurama awoke and saw the blood that he had poured from the wound. He said, Dear pupil, you are not a Brahmana. A Kshatriya alone can remain unmoved under all bodily torments. Okay. Tell me the truth. Karna confessed that he had told a lie in presenting himself as a Brahmana and that he was in fact the son of charioteer. Parshurama in his anger pronounced the curse on him. Since you deceived your guru, the Brahmastra you have learned shall fail you in the fated moment. Oh no. So deceiving is not a good idea to anyone. If people love you and people are with you and you just betray their trust or deceive them, they get hurt. Now, of course, they don't have power to curse you, but see, karma is there already. Okay, you will be unable to recall the invocatory mantra when your hour came. So, he would be unable to recall this mantra. It was because of this curse that at the crisis of his last fight with Arjuna, Karna was not able to recall the Brahmastra spell, though he had remembered it till then. Karna was a faithful friend of Duryodhana and remained loyalty with the Kauravas until the end. So, After the fall of Bhishma and Drona, Karna became the leader of the Kaurava. Karna became the leader of Kaurava army and fought brilliantly for 2 days. In the end, the wheel of his chariot struck in the ground. Okay, this is all about the war. Of his chariot struck in the ground, and he was not able to lift it free and drive the chariot along. While he was in this predicament, Arjuna killed him. Kunti was sunk in sorrow, all the more poignant because she had at that time to conceal it. Okay, so we will be going to read from chapter 13 until maybe 17 or 18 tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed it because I enjoyed it. We saw how we were introduced to many characters: Vidura, the Lord Dharma. Yeah. Okay, so today we did until, let's see, yeah, we did until Karna. So it's good, and this Mahabharata is retold by C. Rajagopal Chari. So thank you guys for attending this. I hope you will forgive me for my reading mistakes. But yes, since this is the first reading challenge, I hope to improve in my next reading challenge of scripture, especially. Okay, thank you. Have a very nice day ahead and see you tomorrow.